Welcome back to Invincibles, everyone. So I'm going to go up with you guys in the S&P 500 again. We have Powell speaking tomorrow after Powell speaking yesterday at the FOMC, mentioning yesterday that we need restrictive policy rather than neutral policy, which he did mention at our prior FOMC meeting. So again, we did have a pullback, a momentum candle to the downside, and an engulfing candle to the downside that we did mention from yesterday. Again, very much having a follow through as we did mention yesterday, and also in the Invincibles room, again, of course, having that follow through after an engulfing candle, as again, 90% of the time that does happen, especially after testing the lower end of our 20-day moving average here, getting that continuation onto the downside here. But we did mention yesterday our support level that we were looking for here is at 374. As you guys can see, we did not hold below 374 today. We did drop just below it, but we did not hold below it here on the daily chart. As you guys can see, we did test it. We did not drop down below it. So our question is, will we hold this support, or will we continue on with this momentum to the downside as Powell is speaking tomorrow and could possibly come in hawkish again? If he does come dovish, will we have a relief rally to possibly bounce back to retest the lower end of our 20-day moving average as we have been, to possibly even continue on lower from here? Look for a possible bearish setup. I'm going to go over exactly what we're looking for here to the downside and to the upside. Now, before I jump into this, if you guys can do me a huge favor, smash that like button if you find this video useful at all. Hit subscribe if you want to see more chart updates on potential breakouts or market updates that I mention every single day throughout the week. And if you guys are day traders or you are looking for very volatile breakouts that we mention every single day in the Invincibles room, go to invincibles.com in the description below, and you will never miss a breakout alert today again. So jumping into the daily chart with you guys here on the spot, again, getting an engulfing candle after yesterday's FOMC meeting. Again, our prior day's body getting covered by yesterday's full body of our candle, giving us that continuation on lower. As you guys can see, getting that follow through, as again, we did mention yesterday, very likely to happen. But testing our support level that we did mention from yesterday at 374, we did drop just below it today. However, we did not close and push below it. We did test it on the daily chart here. We did bounce off of it, and now our question is, will we continue on with this bounce? Our prior day's close. So again, we are closing just below our prior day's close. So again, we are pushing to the downside, continuing on lower with pressure. We need to make sure we are careful closing on the lower end here, looking to see if we can bounce. In my opinion, if we are going to continue on back higher, I do want to see if we can at least get back above our close that we had on this gap down. That level specifically here is at about 377. I want to see if we can at least bounce above it. If we are looking for any room to the upside again to possibly jump back into this gap at all, that would be possible room to the upside. If we are looking for that move, again, that very much will predicate what Powell has to say going into tomorrow. Now, looking at our pressure, again, this is our MACD. We do still have that continuation on with increases in sell pressure that we have been mentioning. Again, higher risk to play to the upside at this point. We are looking for a continuation on decreases in sell pressure. One thing that we do have going for us is that we do have our lower sell pressure that has been coming out. So again, we are not increasing in sell pressure from previously. However, we are still continuing on with sell pressure as we did again have yesterday's FOMC meeting. Not exactly the best FOMC meeting that we were hoping for. So again, just looking for these white shaded lines to come in, again, showing us that decrease in sell pressure. That continuation on decreasing sell pressure is what we're looking for to show us those early signals for, again, our confirmation would be, again, our EMA lines crossing back up our 26 with our 12 crossing back over our 26, looking to see if we can cross back above the median of our MACD for that strength. As you guys can see, prior, we did have the largest rally of the year because we did break our EMA lines above the median of our MACD, and we had early signals on that as we did have, again, our sell pressure continuing on lower here, and then we had our EMA lines again crossing slightly after that, again, after our early signals, and then continuing on higher. So again, looking for those early signals here. We will keep an eye on our sell pressure, and again, we will continue to make sure we are updated here on the channel on that sell pressure, making sure we do focus on that psychology of our sell pressure. Again, we are pulling back, even if we bounce back with, again, one white shaded line, for example, and we do, again, retest the lower end of our 20-day moving average, and we get a possible continuation on lower, we need to make sure we are careful. So again, making sure we are getting that continuation on decreases in sell pressure and making sure we confirm with our EMA lines crossing on a bullish setup. As far as room to run to the downside, again, we have been talking about this, how our RSI is not oversold yet. And as you guys can see, we are pointing down. So in my opinion, we still have room to run to the downside, even if we bounce back, even if we have a slight pushback higher, and then we possibly retest our previous bounce level here, and then we possibly continue on lower on the RSI. Going into tomorrow, again, in my opinion, we have more room to run to the downside since we are not oversold, and looking for those divergence from here. Again, looking for higher lows as we are oversold, and looking for confirmation breaking out of oversold territory as, again, we are getting lower highs on our price action. So again, we will keep an eye on this. Now, keeping in mind on the 5-minute chart, I wanted to go over this with you guys. As you guys can see, we grinded and finally grinded higher on the day, and at the very end of the day, going into extended hours, we had our major sell-off So again, we have to make sure we are careful, especially with Powell speaking tomorrow. And as we are looking for new levels, in my opinion, we could possibly drop into new lows of the year very easily here. And if we do bounce back, in my opinion, it'll be very clear. We will know exactly when that setup does come. We will have our 20 at least curling back up, and we will have our EMA lines at least curling back up if we are going to have that reversal. But in my opinion, at this point in time, from here, since we have been continuing on lower, we need to make sure we are careful from a possible bounce if we are playing to the downside, since we have Powell speaking tomorrow. If he does say anything possibly more dovish than hawkish, so we can possibly bounce back, retest the lower end of our 20 moving average. But if he does go hawkish, then we will be looking for that continuation below 360 lows of the year if that does happen. Now we have one last level here at 370. If we do continue on below 370, we could assume we could be testing 360 lows of the year and possibly continue on lower. Now jumping over to our weekly chart, very important we look at our weekly chart. As you guys can see, we have our 200-day moving average that we are not testing. As you guys can see, for our pandemic sell-off that we had, we did at least drop below our 200-day moving average, and then we bounced back above it. And also that would be our 50-day moving average on our monthly chart. So again, we could be bouncing off of our 200-day moving average on the weekly and our 50-day moving average on our monthly. So again, looking for that possible bounce if we continue on lower. That is what we're looking for from here. Again, getting that rejection just below our 50-day moving average here on our weekly chart, getting that rejection as we did cross our 20 below our 50 here, getting early signals here that we did have bearish momentum. And just looking at the weekly chart, as you guys can see, just from the pandemic all the way till now, as you guys can see, really early here, a 20 dropping below our 50, giving us early signals that this was going to be very, very choppy from here. And sure enough, getting a lot of chop, and as you guys can see, bouncing back from our pandemic as we had our 20 crossing back over our 50. So if we were literally watching the weekly chart here, we could have played the 20 moving average, even retesting. As you guys can see, maybe there was setups on Apple. If you're looking at the weekly chart, retesting our 20 moving average in a bullish market, looking for setups, same thing, playing to the downside if you guys are looking for setups to the downside. Now again, with that said, if you are a day trader or you are looking for very volatile breakouts that we mentioned every single day in the Instabulls room, go to instabulls.com in the description below, and you'll never miss a breakout alert today again. And again, all of you Instabulls that come over every single day and support the channel, I appreciate every one of you guys. We're going to continue to go at it in the Instabulls room. Again, just staying patient, take what the market gives us as we do again have a pullback here on our monthly chart. As you guys can see, dropping back into our prior area of balance and possibly going to drop down below it since we have retested, continue down higher, had a false break just under our 50. If we do, again, continue on lower, no surprise here, as we would be possibly testing our 50, looking for a bounce from there. And again, we will be ready for possible longs or swings from there. We will know exactly when that's going to happen. But for now, staying safe. We don't want anything along the lines of possibly dropping below our 200 moving average, possibly find falling knives to the downside from here. So again, as we are pointing down with our 20 below our 50, getting an engulfing candle here on the weekly chart, just making sure we are careful. And also on the monthly chart, as you guys can see, getting wicks to the upside, rejecting the lower end of our 20-day moving average here multiple times here on our monthly. So again, making sure we are careful, make sure we are not going to continue on with that rejection, which again, very much could happen, and possibly looking for a bullish setup from here on our monthly chart to the upside. And again, if you guys do like this video, it does help the channel grow, and I do appreciate it very much. And again, God bless you all, and I'll see you guys in pre-market.